What is even going on with this offseason this year? It refuses to stop because being still less than a month away from spring training, now we have another big trade. The Minnesota Twins, Luis Arraez, the Miami Marlins, Pablo Lopez. When will it stop? Hopefully, well, we want it to stop because we want actual MLB baseball games to start again. So until then, let's go ahead. We'll get into this trade. This is Smarter Baseball, where we deep dive into everything going on throughout Major League Baseball. If you enjoy the content and want to support the channel, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the page, and turn on notifications. You can also follow on social media. Those are down in the description. Let's get into this trade. We've got a pretty big one here. Miami, Minnesota. Miami is getting Luis Arraez. Minnesota is getting Pablo Lopez and two prospects, Jose Salas and Byron Churio. I'm sure I'm getting his name wrong. You've seen my videos, you know I get names wrong. But let's go ahead, get into this one, because, I mean, this is obviously, there's some big names. This is a pretty big move going on here. Mainly, we'll go ahead and start with Miami. We've got first baseman, second base, can play both. Luis Arraez, going into his age 26 season, over 3 years of service time, arbitration eligible in 2023, going to be a free agent in 2026. Now, over his career, holds a 314, 374, 410 slash line, 784 OPS, 120 OPS plus, 120 WRC plus. He's got 10.4 B WAR, 7.1 F WAR. I mean, this guy, high batting average, high on base, kind of a weird one here as a first baseman in that not giving you a ton of power. As we get into this, we'll see more and more. I mean, only a 3% barrel percentage. That's less than half of 2022 MLB average. 88.3 exit velos, right about average, but the hard hit percentage is well below. Homers per fly ball is under half. Home run percentage well underneath. But that's not really his game. Arraez is your typical put the ball in play, slap type of hitter. Hitting the ball mainly back up the middle, opposite field, high line drive percentage guy. But where his tools really lie, and what's absolutely insane to think about with this guy, not just 2022, I'm talking over his career still. He has walked more than he has struck out. Over his career, 8.3 strikeout percentage, 8.7 walk percentage. He is not up there chasing, not swinging early and often, which is kind of a rare thing for this. Like, you normally see players like this. We talked in previous trade videos, right? Say the Blue Jays Diamondbacks trade that we talked about. Both Lourdes Gurriel and Gabriel Moreno both fall into this category of not striking out a ton, but they don't walk very much either, because they early in counts, very often they're looking to just put bat to ball. This is not the case with Arraez here. He is a very, very patient hitter. Like I said, not chasing, not swinging early, not really swinging all that much. But what's absolutely insane to think about with him, 8.6 whiff percentage over his career, less than 10%. The MLB average in 2022 was almost 25%. That's fucking wild to think about, okay? If he decides to swing the bat, he is not missing, which, like we said, for first baseman to be such a contact guy, not a lot of power, this is like the almost equal opposite that you would normally think of here. In 2022 now, 316 average, 375 on base, 420 slugging for a 795 OPS, 130 OPS plus, 131 WRC plus. He was at 4.4 B WAR, 3.2 F WAR, so well above the 2 for a starter level player, but not quite to that, like what they would call all-star level. Again, not really barreling the ball up that much, not hitting it very hard, very often. But again, that's not his game. A lot of line drives, a couple more fly balls this year, but still just right back up the box the other way, having this insanely good approach, somehow cutting the strikeouts down even more, down to 7.1%, still walking right about at average. Again, not really chasing, swinging at even less first pitches somehow, swinging about just as often as he has over his career, but whiffing even less, now down to less than a third of the percentage of MLB average. That's just absolutely wild to think about with this guy. Very rightfully earned a Silver Slugger, earned an All-Star this year. I mean, this guy, like, it's pretty clear offensively what he brings to the table here. But now, where there's some difference or discussion or whatever, let's talk about him defensively, right? Because for Miami, they already have Jazz Chisholm at second, and they bring in Gene Segura, who's by all accounts going to play third. He can also very easily play second. Arraez is probably not going to get a whole lot of playing time over at second there. So he actually played most of his games this year at first base, over 500 innings. So let's look at first basemen that played 500 innings at first base this year. And out of all of those players, he ranked 5th in defensive runs saved, 1st in UZR per 150, was 9th and tied for 8th in outs and runs above average. And Fangraphs had his total defensive rating 4th in first baseman. So he, despite getting kind of this rap maybe for not being the best defensively, that's maybe because he's playing a little bit out of position at second. At first, it seems he's much more comfortable there, brings a pretty solid glove. We look at his percentile ratings too. Again, the exit velo is just a little bit below 500 or below average there. Max exit velo's down, hard hit percentage 7th percentile. So, but we know that's not his game. He's not going to come in and just be absolutely smacking the ball around. Expected batting average 97th percentile, still expected WOBA 69th percentile. Nice. I mean, this guy, he's going to give you good at bats. He's going to put bat to ball. He's going to get himself a lot of base hits, get on base. 100th percentile in strikeout percentage and whiff percentage. So if anybody, nobody better than him at not striking out and not missing when he swings. Still walking just over average, hardly chasing 78th percentile. But then this is where it gets into his fielding stuff as well. Sprint speed was 38th percentile, and his outs above average on Baseball Savant was ranked 15th with a 35th ranked arm. That screams way more a first baseman than a second baseman. He's not particularly fast. He's not covering a whole lot of ground, not getting a whole lot of outs out there. Doesn't really have an arm. Not that you really need one from second base, but I mean, you stick him at first base where he's more comfortable, it seems. And I mean, that by all accounts is where Miami probably is going to have to play him and would be looking to play him. I think he's going to fit way better there. And like I said, despite not being offensively like your prototypical first baseman, he's going to slide in really well into that Miami Marlins offense there. And so now we take a look at what Minnesota's getting out of this. Obviously, the main piece here is starter Pablo Lopez, 27 years old, over 4 years of service time, arbitration eligible. I mean, he's been in arbitration, but going to be arbitration eligible again through 2024 and a free agent in 2025. Over his career so far, 94 starts, 510 innings, a 3.94 ERA, 3.77 FIP, 1.186 WHIP. All of this good then for a 97 ERA minus, 92 FIP minus. Now, again, with minus stats, just the same as plus stats. 100 is even, but you want to be below. And for every 1 point that you're below 100 is 1% better than league average. So about 3% better with the ERA, 8% better with the FIP there. A 3.92 Sierra, this very advanced stat that I've talked about before. That's maybe a little bit above average there. The 8.5 B WAR, 8.7 F WAR in that time. He's been a guy, not a ton of strikeouts, but he gets above average. Limits the walks pretty well though. Keeps a really good ratio between the two. Now he's right around the zone pretty frequently. Gets a good amount of chases, but not particularly throwing a lot of first pitch strikes. So tick below average there. The whiff percentage is a little bit above, and he's right around the same amount of pitches per plate appearance. So a fairly effective pitcher there. Barrel percentage, he's given up a little bit of barrels, but keeping the exit velo down, the hard hit percentage down. Where he struggles with this though is that when he does give up fly balls, he gives up a good amount of home runs per fly ball there. Still keeping the home run percentage right about average though, because he's not giving up a whole lot of fly balls. Keeps the launch angle pretty low, primarily getting a lot of ground balls, which is really good to see from a pitcher, obviously. But something kind of weird here with him, as we'll get into a little bit later when we kind of look at his stuff, he does get pulled pretty frequently, which usually then you're getting hit a little bit harder. So he's probably getting guys just out on that front foot a little bit since he's keeping the exit velo and the hard hit percentage down. So that's why that's not tending to bite him too much. But as we get into his 2022 here, 32 starts, 180 innings with a 3.75 ERA, 3.71 FIP, 1.167 walks hits per innings pitched, 97 ERA minus, 92 FIP minus, right at his career averages. I don't know how he managed that. The Sierra now 3.71 down below average, and I'll explain the Sierra now real quick. This is basically FIP on steroids. It takes into account the same home runs, strikeouts, walks as FIP does, but it also takes into account batted ball data. So as the balls that you allow to be put into play would normally yield better results, you see your Sierra go down. And it's the same roughly as like ERA and FIP and this stuff that, you know, if you relatively know what like a good ERA and FIP look like, you know what a good Sierra looks like. So 3.71 ERA is below. I believe the average for that is around 3.85, somewhere around there. 3 B WAR this year, 2.8 F WAR. So kind of in that like solid middle of the rotation kind of guy. You're like third starter on a pretty good team there. Kept the strikeout percentage right about at his career average, a little bit above, but the walks also went up just a little bit. Keeping the ratio between the two right about at his career average. Was actually in the zone a little bit less this year. Chase percentage was right about the same, but he was getting in the zone with that first pitch strike a lot more frequently, 2% more, now noticeably like 1.5% above league average this year. Still keeping the whiffs, got the whiffs up actually much more, over 3.5 or about 3.5% higher now than league average, but he was a little bit less efficient with the at-bats, throwing a couple more pitches per plate appearance now, going from just under to about 5% over. Getting barreled even more though, getting hit a little bit harder, getting hit harder a little bit more frequently, still keeping that kind of higher homers per fly ball number, but keeping the home run percentage total down because again, he's not giving up a ton of fly balls here. He actually just went above average this year, getting the line drives down below average. Ground balls still kind of where he lies though. Getting a lot of this lower contact, even though his launch angle went up over a percentage, it's still a percentage lower than league average. So that's primarily where he sits still. Ground ball pitcher, still getting pulled and getting pulled even more this year. So guys were hitting him a little bit better, but he was still actually getting better results here. So as far as what he brings to the table, looking at his percentiles again, exit velo 63rd percentile, so in that like good range. Hard hit percentage 71st, exit or expected ERA WOBA 55th. I mean, he's getting hit decently hard, but as we kind of look here, he's just kind of in this like good, not particularly great range with a lot of this, getting barreled up a lot, but over average in strikeouts and walks, especially in whiffs, 69th percentile, attaboy. Chase percentile 70th. Come on, man, you couldn't get both of them right there. Whatever. But where like to really understand Lopez here, 37th percentile fastball velocity and 32nd percentile spin rate. He's mainly a fastball changeup kind of a guy, but doesn't have a particularly great fastball like on the surface looking at it. What probably helps him is that he's 92nd percentile in extension, and he's 6'4", 6'5", so even though it's maybe not the liveliest fastball, not coming in, you know, super quick or whatever, it gets on you quicker than you would think because he's getting so much more extension towards home plate than your average pitcher. Like we said, mainly fastball changeup, 38.8% fastball, 35.3% changeup, and then mixing in a cutter, sinker, curveball all about 8 to 10% of the time. Just enough to kind of keep you on your toes. And as far as the prospects here that Miami is sending over, shortstop Salas is going to be going into his age 20 season. He's had 2 years in the minors so far, 164 games, 704 plate appearances, slash line of 268, 356, 391 for a 747 OPS, 34 doubles, 11 homers, 146 strikeouts to 65 walks. So both of these guys are relatively far away. I think Salas was in high A this year, so kind of hard to get a real grasp on these guys as they're still at such a like low level of the minors here. Churio, who again, I'm sure I'm butchering that name, mainly was in center and right field, going to be going into his age 18 season, only played in the Dominican Summer League this last year, 51 games, 217 plate appearances, 9 doubles with a home run. Now, interesting here for him, 27 strikeouts to 25 walks. So at least in this very small sample size, had a really good approach at the plate there, it seems. 344 average, 429 on base, 410 slugging. So not a whole lot of power there yet for him. He's only 18. You figure he'll get bigger, he'll grow more, kind of fill out his body. Power is usually one of the last things that comes with position players. So 839 OPS. Again, both of these guys, I mean, how many guys do we see at the lower levels of the minor leagues like be really, really good and then they get up to like AA and flame out because the competition just gets so much more intense. So obviously you get these prospects, maybe they turn into something, but I mean, the real trade here is Lopez for Arraez. So let's get into why both of these teams then make this move. Now, we already kind of talked about for Miami bringing in Arraez. Yeah, he can play second. I don't think he's as comfortable there. You probably want him at first, and that's where he's going to fill a bigger hole here for Miami. Their first baseman in 2022 slash 236, 298, 383. That's a 681 OPS, 29 home runs, struggled a bit with the strikeouts, weren't getting a ton of walks. Their 94 WRC plus was ranked 21st in baseball, and their .6 FWAR was ranked 22nd. Miami has this need at first base for sure. Arraez, even though again, he's not your conventional power hitting kind of first baseman, he definitely brings that offense that they're clearly missing here, and he's going to fill that role in the lineup for them for sure. And like you said, you know, Chisholm needs some time off at second. Segura could go bounce over there, or maybe you bounce Arraez over there, like just for, you know, a fill-in. Like he does have that versatility. He's played around a little bit, so can kind of fill a couple spots, but mainly here at first base, that's what he's going to help address here. Now for Minnesota, yes, you get the prospects. That definitely helps in this return, especially if they turn into something, you know. But mainly for them, as far as coming into this next year and fixing some of the team or the problems on this major league roster, they're starting pitchers. Their 4.11 ERA was 20th in baseball last year. 4.18 FIP was 18th. Weren't getting a ton of strikeouts, but were limiting the walks fairly well. So they were a little bit below average in the strikeout to walk ratio, but nothing too crazy. Where, though, they have this room for improvement, I mean, we already kind of said with the ERA and the FIP, but ERA minus was 107, FIP minus was 108, so they're about 7-8% worse than your major league average starting rotation there. 8.2 FWAR had them 21st. Lopez, by any means right now, isn't like your bona fide ace coming in here, like drastically going to change these numbers, but he's definitely going to improve them over what they were here. He just helps you add another solid arm into potentially the middle of this rotation. I think Fangraphs had him slotted as like the number 2 starter right now. Whether he's anywhere 2, 3, 4, depending on if one or two of these younger pitchers that the Twins have managed to kind of take a step forward here. I mean, you still got Sonny Gray, but if Joe Ryan takes a step forward, Tyler Mahle that they got from the Reds, maybe he takes a step forward. I mean, Lopez just adds this depth into this rotation at worst, let alone if any of these young guys, or if he takes an even bigger step forward, as he's kind of been improving throughout, you know, his career so far. So if you're a fan of either of these teams, go ahead, drop a comment down below. Let me know, who do you guys think won this trade? I think this kind of works out for both of them, really. So let me know your thoughts. Comment down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, enjoyed the breakdown. If you did and you want to support the channel, show your love, all of that stuff, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. You can follow on social medias. Links are down in the description. I hope you have an awesome day. I'll see you in the next one. We're breaking down every team's offseason. And I just got interrupted by all of this, but we've got the NL East out. AL East will be coming out probably tomorrow. And after that, we got the NL Central. So we're going division by division, looking at every team's offseason. Make sure you stay tuned. We've got that, way more content coming out. Everything that you guys are going to hopefully enjoy here. Just deep diving into baseball, getting to talk some shit, really. And just enjoy talking baseball. I'm rambling now. I'm going to go. Have an awesome day. I'll see you in the next one.